Next up is our tipster, and our tipster this week is Diane Windingland. So Diane, please share your tip.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, have you ever been asked a question and your mind went blank? Maybe it was at a meeting. Maybe you were asked to speak at an event, or maybe it was even in table topics. Well, today my tip is ways that you can buy time in order to have a little time to think and formulate your response. Now, I don't have time to go into depth on all 11 ways to buy time. That's in my book if you want more details, but I will mention all 11 ways and then talk about the first 3 and how you might use them. So here are, very quickly, 11 ways to buy time. The first one is to pause for a breath. You could repeat or rephrase the question. You can ask a question about the question, which is to clarify the question. You can talk about the question, talk around it for a little bit. You can answer part of the question. You don't have to answer everything. You could acknowledge and pivot, which is the politician's method to getting to their talking points. You can repeat your own or someone else's words. You can review, take a step back and review what has been said already. You can ask for more time to think about it. You can take a sip of water. And sometimes, although not in table topics, you can ask someone else to answer it. Let's take a look at those first 3 ways. This is very simple. Pause and take a breath. You can give yourself just a few moments to pause, to gather your thoughts, get a little oxygen to your brain. Everybody right now, just take a breath. Okay, probably feel even more relaxed right now. You can repeat or rephrase the question. This is probably another easy technique where you just listen to repeat keywords, or you can repeat the question in its entirety. You can also clarify the question. Now, you probably wouldn't do this in table topics, but this is great in conversation or at a meeting. And there's several ways you can start out to transition to clarifying the question. So what you're asking is, what I hear you saying is, are you saying, it sounds like, in other words, from what I understand, you want to know if I understood you correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is, now these first 3 techniques can work really well in combination, where you take a breath, repeat or rephrase the question, and then ask a clarifying question. I am going to ask for one volunteer to actually do this. You don't have to answer the question, but just I'll ask you a question and I want you to go through the 3 steps. So who do I have that will volunteer just to go through the 3 steps? Don't all raise your hand at once. I need to see somebody, or I'm going to call on Stephen. So please unmute yourself, Stephen. And what I want you to do is I'm going to give you a question and I want you to take a breath, repeat or rephrase the question, and then ask me a question about the question. Do you understand that, Stephen?
Yes.
All right. If you could have a conversation with anyone, who would it be?
If I could have a conversation with anyone, who would it be? Does this person need to be living, or could I pick somebody from way in the past?
Great way to do that, Stephen. Now, I'd let you answer this question if we had time, but we don't. So you can use this technique in table topics. Maybe you won't ask a question about the question, but certainly taking a breath, repeating or rephrasing the question is a great way to start. And thank you, Stephen, for participating. Now, you can also use any one of these other techniques to delay a little bit too. And I know you're not going to remember them. So I have an infographic that has all these ways to buy time plus 9 impromptu frameworks. I will put in the chat in a little bit the link, or you can just hold your phone up to the QR code and take a photo, and that will take you to some free resources. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.